Hello and welcome to the very first episode of
Not aNUDder Neighbours Podcast.
Woo! So, welcome. I am Liz.
And I'm Fiona.
And we are both big Neighbours fans.
Yes, we are.
Let us, first of all, tell you a bit about our podcast, what we're going to hopefully share with you, bring to you, and whether it's going to be any different to anyone else's. So, Fiona, what have we got lined up?
Well, we're just going to have a lovely chat about Neighbours. This is what we do regularly anyway.
We do.
So we thought, why not stick a microphone in front of us as we go about our regular
Yeah,
chats.
because we're that interesting. We think everyone else wants to hear what we've got to say.
Absolutely. Who wouldn't?
So we're going to be talking Neighbours, obviously. We're going to have a look at the week's episodes, or however long it's been since we've last recorded a podcast. We can't promise one every week.
Exactly. We're keeping it very casual. We're not promising a weekly or fortnightly thing.
Consider it just a little treat when it happens. And so we'll talk about what's happened recently. We will also have a guest on most weeks. That's or most times, I should say, most episodes. This week, though, we're not going to do that because we thought you might want to get to know us a bit. So we are essentially our own guests this week.
Woo!
Thank you, Fiona. So with that in mind, should we have a little chat about us?
Why not?
All right, okay. So how long have I known you now, Fee?
For about maybe 10 years.
10 years.
Maybe longer.
Yeah, and we started working together at the BBC.
Yes.
In kids telly. And I don't think I knew you very well to start with.
I can remember when we first met.
Can you?
Yes.
Go on.
So we were in the canteen having lunch with a lot of other colleagues. So I hadn't met you at this point.
Okay.
I was just sitting down with the people that I already knew.
Yeah.
And you were there.
Because I was mostly working in the office at that point, and you were mostly working in the studio.
Absolutely.
So go on.
Or running around like a crazy person.
You were a runner, to be fair.
Yeah, that was my job.
Yeah.
So at this lunch, somebody asked us if you could buy 3 houses in the world. That
would have been me. I will have asked that question.
Oh,
because that's one of my standard small talk questions that I love to ask people. If you're going to have three houses anywhere in the world, where would they be and what kind of house would they be?
Yes. So you asked the question.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that you asked the question. And my response was, I'd like a little castle in Scotland, overlooking the sea.
Lovely.
I can't remember the second one.
Okay.
But the last one was, and obviously I would buy a house on Ramsay Street.
And was that the moment that we then bonded?
Your eyes lit up, and I was like, "Oh, I found a fellow nutter like me."
Yeah, that will have been it. Will have been the moment, which would have cemented our future friendship, which is, been a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
So we've been friends for, as you say, about 10 years, and in that time, we've shared the highs, the lows, the devastation and the joy of Neighbours.
It's been a roller coaster.
For example, when it ended,
I'm still traumatised.
I know. You organised a viewing for everybody.
Yes, in Manchester. It was very exciting.
It was fun, wasn't it? And lots of people came, and we all watched it together. And we had games, we had a quiz, and you were the host with the most.
I tried to be.
And I organised a couple of silly games and stuff.
No, it was very nice. It was very chilled.
Yeah.
We didn't try to do too much.
No, and there was cake. There was much cake.
Yeah. Thanks, Claire,
Yeah.
for organising the cakes.
They had pictures of people from Neighbours on. I seem to remember some of the cakes.
All of them.
All of them. I didn't think I'd made that up. So yeah, we had a fun time. And then obviously it came back.
Hurrah!
Now, how long have you been watching Neighbours for, Fiona?
I was trying to work this out the other day. So it started in the UK in 1986, which was the year I was born. So I was
so
already alive when it started in the UK. So I have been watching it all of my life, apart from what I call the dark years. I had a ex-stepmother who wouldn't let me watch it for the duration of her being in my life.
Wicked stepmother.
Very wicked stepmother. So there's a 5-year gap where I just do not have any memories at all.
Oh my goodness. How old were you then?
Between the ages of like 7 and 12.
Okay. Wow. I'm upset for you. I'm sad for you.
I know. I'm still traumatised by
I
that.
can tell. I've got so many questions, but they're not for today. So you've loved it that whole time, and some of you will already know this about Fiona, but you got to live out one of your neighbours' dreams, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Go on, tell us.
I've always wanted to go to Australia, but it was a big pipe dream. And because I worked at the BBC and worked in television as a set dresser and prop maker, I really wanted to somehow get a job on Neighbours.
Don't we all?
So I ran off to Australia for 1 year with that sole purpose of trying to get a job on Neighbours. And it actually turned out to be quite easy in the end.
What?
I don't know how. I think I was working with a producer in the UK who used to work with somebody who then worked on Neighbours afterwards. So I had a kind of connection.
You had an in.
I had an in. So 2 months into me being in Melbourne, I was invited to the set initially just to have a little look around. They didn't promise me anything. They just thought it would be nice for me to go and have a look around the set, which I was very excited about. And I was trying not to geek out because I had my semi-professional hat
I can
on.
imagine you would have found that very difficult.
It was very difficult. I didn't want to take any photos of anything.
No.
I was like,
trying to be professional.
I'll leave my phone in my pocket.
Wow.
I'll come back and do the official Neighbours tour, and then I can be my nerdy self. So whilst that was happening, they said, we might get you in to do some shadowing at some point. So I was very persistent after that, saying, please don't forget me, please, I would really like to shadow. And then a few weeks later, they got me into shadowing, and at that time they were gearing up for a big wedding. Ooh. Which then turned out to be David and Aaron's wedding.
Oh, David.
And the day that I was there, they were having a nightmare with the wedding favours. So they were in the wrong boxes. They needed new boxes and new ribbons tied around them. So they asked me if I would very kindly sit in an office and just transfer all the wedding favours into the right boxes with the right ribbons.
Brilliant.
Which I was very happy to do. And then after that, they said, do you want a few more days' work paid? And I was like, I'll think about it.
For about a millisecond. Yes.
So the next day I came in and I blew up most of the balloons that you can see in the background.
Were a lot of balloons.
A lot of white balloons, and my fingers were absolutely rubbed raw because I had to tie up all of those balloons. But it was worth it.
Yeah, you'd do anything. And one of my favourite things you did, I don't know if I should say this on here, but I'm going to say it anyway, and we can always edit it out, that you had to sign some of the cards for their wedding.
Oh, yes. So they gave me a whole load of cards that I had to write things in, nice messages in from David and Aaron's wedding guests. So I had one from myself.
Yep.
One from Liz Day,
Yay!
who is my beautiful co-host, and one from another lady called Claire, who is part of our trio, but she lives far away and she doesn't know we're doing this yet.
No, when we told Claire this, she's going to be very jealous. So she might be our only listener, to be fair.
Possibly.
She might not even
and
listen.
her husband.
Ah, will he be made to listen as well?
Probably.
Thanks, Claire's husband. So sorry if you hear any noises. We're joined today by Bert the dog, who is my little dog, Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, tricolour. Should you wish to imagine what he looks like, and he for some reason wants to sit with us and join in today. I mean, he is a Neighbours watcher.
Absolutely.
Forced more than anything, but he does sort of engage with it in the sense of when the end music starts, he then informs us that we have to go outside for a wee. So that's Bert's. He could recognise the theme music at least.
You see, that's interesting because one of my earliest childhood memories was watching Neighbours with my mother and my dog at the time.
Right.
And we would always feed the dog straight after Neighbours. So as soon as the theme tune came on, he'd get very, very excited, start running around.
Brilliant.
And then when he got older and a little bit more senile, he then got confused with the theme tune at the start of the programme with the theme tune at the end, and we couldn't shut him up whilst we're trying to watch Neighbours.
I mean, that's difficult. For a dog these days with streaming, you could be watching it at any time. So,
absolutely.
You can't be doing that to your poor dog.
I know. I'd have to give him one biscuit at a time. Yeah.
Or you just have to say, okay, I'm going to watch Neighbours at the same. Do you watch it at the same time?
No, not now.
When do you watch it?
Whenever I have a free moment.
Okay.
Sometimes I bank them up.
Really?
To the end of the week. Sometimes it depends what my schedule is for the week.
That's true.
If I'm not working in the morning, I like to have breakfast with Neighbours.
Yes, that's my preferred method. But obviously, I am a freelance writer, so my schedule is quite empty at the moment, out of choice more than anything. Jason Herbson, if you're listening, I am available for work. Just putting that out there. May the gods of Neighbours, or the god in this case, give me a job.
He is a god.
He is. We love you, Jason. But yeah, at the moment I'm able to sit down and watch. So Bert and I watch Neighbours every day in the morning with my breakfast.
It sounds like a beautiful...
It is. I'm not looking forward to having an actual job just because that's going to change our ritual.
I think it's quite nice. So my work schedule's all erratic at the moment. So I do like watching Neighbours whilst I'm eating my breakfast, but it's also very nice to come home in the evening and watch it like we used to in the olden times.
My mum's still like that. My mum's a watcher, and she watches, I think, at sort of 5:30 or something most days. I think that's what she does. And when I go down to see her, that's what we do. We sit down and watch it then. So I do save it when I'm staying with her, as tempting as it is. But okay, now this is the real. I've got a guilty secret here.
Please,
it's
do
not a secret.
tell.
It's not a secret from you. You know this about me already, but I watched the other one as well. So I also watch Home and Away, and Neighbours is my true love. It will always be my true love. But I do enjoy Home and Away. And I watched Hollyoaks and sometimes watch Emmerdale. And so, yeah, I'm very much a soap girl in general. But the Sunshine soaps generally.
Yes, the Sunshine is very important to us.
So I watch Home and Away as well. So when I'm at my mum's, she doesn't watch that, so I will watch that when she's having her little siesta that she has. But Neighbours we keep together to watch because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. My first time I watched Neighbours, incidentally, so I'm older than you. I must have been 12 or 11 or 12 when it began in the UK. And I remember being off school poorly and watching an episode. This was when it was only on at lunchtime.
Yes.
And my first ever episode was Terry, Paul's wife, trying to shoot him.
Oh, wow.
Good episode, eh?
That's a perfect episode to start your Neighbours journey.
So from that point I was hooked, and obviously I couldn't watch it at lunchtimes, but it wasn't that long after that it then came on as a tea time thing. And then as soon as it became tea time, that was it, and I was able to become the complete addict that I later become. And like you, Fiona, I have also been to Australia partly just because I love Neighbours, and I got to do the tour and things. But when I went, which was quite a long time ago, you didn't get to go on the set. So we went on the street and we went drove around and saw some of the other sites. And funnily, you used to get to go up to the Dandenongs, which this week they have been talking about on Neighbours. So it's a nice little segue there into talking about what happened this week on Neighbours.
Oh.
Now, I've made a few notes. I didn't remember to write after every episode, but I've made a few notes. Okay. So I'm going to go through them. Feel free to just pitch in as and when. So first of all, we've got the vineyard, and Shannon has been accused of having tampered with Hillary's wine.
Yes, she's been very naughty again.
Assuming it was her.
Assuming.
Because at this stage we don't know for sure. She's lied about everything else, so she probably is lying in saying that she didn't do it. But it's possible somebody else also was there.
Yeah, it could have been Gus Cleary's brother. What was his name?
Now, this is the thing. So Fiona is much better at remembering obscure people and their names and things. I'm terrible. I just forget all of the details. So Fiona's great for that.
I'm here to help you.
You are, thank you. So I can't remember Gus Cleary's brother. But the name suddenly made me go,
he was the guy who shot Kate Ramsey.
Oh, was he?
So Gus Cleary was...
There was no blood!
Exactly. So Gus Cleary was the man who died in the fire.
Right.
That Paul lit.
Oh, at the Lassiter's.
Yes,
yeah.
The Lassiter's fire.
I loved that episode. That was great.
And years later, when Kate Ramsey got shot, and there was this big whodunit, that was about 10 years afterwards.
It was Gus's brother.
It turned out that it was, I think his name was Victor Cleary. It was Victor Cleary, who we had never heard of before, and nobody could ever have guessed that it would have been somebody related to Gus Cleary.
I mean, revenge is best served cold, as they say.
10 years later.
It could be, what was Kate's brother called? Kate Ramsey's brother?
Harry.
Maybe it was Harry. Maybe he's come back to avenge. But why would he avenge on the vineyard? Don't know. Anyway, so that was one of the things that happened this week. Nell and JJ, the ban.
Oh.
Do you want them to be together?
I don't know. JJ's a little bit odd.
A little bit odd. Harsh.
I think they're quite cute.
They are. But I always thought that Nell and Dex were destined to be together. I think he's got quite a soft spot for her.
I think Dex needs some character development before people can ship them.
Yes. There was a brilliant scene this week where Dex, I don't know if you can hear that in the background, my cuckoo clock was just sounding there. Dex was eating cornflakes Did you see that? Do you remember that bit?
No.
That moment? So they were in the hospital and Dex had been given this close-up where he's like, oh, I'm just in hospital and look, my hand is still shaking as I eat these cornflakes. And it was like, finally a scene all about Dex. And then Leo came in and the whole scene became about JJ, just for a change.
Oh.
And I just felt for him in that moment. I was like, that scene just summed up Dex's life. That even the scene that was supposed to be about him in the hospital became all about JJ.
Yeah, it's very sad because I think Dex could be a lovely boy.
We don't know.
Who knows?
Do you know who he reminds me of in terms of them not establishing his character? Yashvi's little sister, the one that was deaf.
Ah, yeah.
For ages, she didn't get storylines. Mm-hmm. And then she did get the storyline about her being deaf. And then it was like, they went, oh, we can't know what to do with her now.
Well, what was her name? Kersha. Was that her name? I think it was.
Yeah.
So Kersha was the original owner of Clancy.
Oh, Clancy.
So Kersha and Clancy were best friends, and then Clancy was moving down and everybody was like, oh no, Clancy can't come. He's a bad influence on Kersha. So that was her first big storyline.
Oh, yeah.
But other than that and her being deaf,
there really wasn't any story for her. She was a good little actress. I liked her. So we're hopeful for Dex's storyline. We're not sure about JJ and Nell yet. Mm-hmm. Could be a future beautiful love story.
Yeah, I think there needs to be some romance for the teenagers of Ramsay Street. It's been a while.
It has, hasn't it? You know, who are the future Scott and Charlene? I mean, I say Scott and Charlene. They've never been my favourite couple.
Who's your favourite teen couple?
I mean, I loved Jane and Mike, obviously. They were much more. But do you know who I really loved? Donna and Ringo.
Yes.
I loved Donna and Ringo.
They were the best.
They were the best. Mm-hmm. Now, talking of romance, Mac and Haz back together. Yay! Oh, you're not looking yay. Why?
I don't know.
Why?
Again, they're both odd people, which is good because they found each other. But
odd is good.
I know, and I am odd, and so are you. So
really?
So I don't know. It just feels like they're just a bit too odd for each other, and they need some kind of counterbalance.
I think of Mac as quite normal. I don't think of her as being particularly odd. I get the Haz thing, maybe.
I don't know. There's just something that's not quite right with it for me.
I like them. I'm rooting for them.
Good.
Also rooting for Sadie and I was going to say Ringo. Then clearly he reminds me a bit of Ringo. That's not right, is it?
No. His name's Byron.
Byron, Ringo. They both sound like apps for your phone, don't they? Anyway. Other things that happened this week. Carl's bike bribe. I mean, I love the daft storylines. This is one of my, they're a bit, it's come from the pooper story.
Yes.
Now there's the bribe story.
Yes.
It's kind of a ridiculous story, but it's useful in that it's moving on various things and we're getting to actually see more of Irene rising.
Yes. that wonderful retirement experience that is Irene rising.
Yes, with its 2 residents at the moment.
Yeah.
3, and Hillary as well.
And its weird walls.
Oh yeah. It's an odd design choice, isn't it? That half plastered, half brick thing.
It's like a modern hip cafe rather than a retirement home.
Yeah, I understand in their office to have that look, but in the bedrooms and things, that doesn't seem quite. It just looks a bit unfinished. Considering
that new, I've forgotten her name, the new resident who's bribed Carl with her bike.
Yeah.
She was having a big debate with Susan whether she can have mauve or lilac or something like that. So I don't think that colour scheme would go with the exposed brick.
No, I'm with you on that one. Now, I've got a couple of other random things I've written down here. Because we don't just discuss the big things on Not aNUDder Neighbours Podcast. Now, I've put here, Leo apologised and said it wasn't JJ's fault. And then I've written in big capital letters, it was. It totally was JJ's fault. He was not doing his job properly. He left the wine unattended. It's not fully his fault, but it is in part his fault. I don't understand when they suddenly go, no, JJ, it's not your fault at all. No, it was partly your fault.
To be fair, though, would Leo, would he have actually locked that door himself? Because I think that is a door that was probably never locked before.
Well, it wasn't the most secure. The fact that he doesn't have CCTV in the room that has all the wine.
Yeah.
The wine that is going to save or ruin him.
Yeah.
It seems a little odd, doesn't it, to have a...
Yeah. Also, there was a big plot hole in that because Leo did not have any staff, but then when he needed dash cam footage, he asked all the staff that he didn't have whether they had little cameras in their car.
I mean, the vineyard is supposedly now at risk, and I am not surprised because he has been at Lassiter's and hanging out with his girlfriend and just, you know, having play dates with his daughter. He's never at the vineyard.
Yeah.
Come on, Leo.
Yeah.
Let's not put all the emphasis on, oh no, we've had to recall some bottles here. I know it's bad for business, but you've invested all your money but you're never there.
Yes. Also, you shouldn't blame somebody on his first day of his first ever job.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't really want to employ him, to be fair.
That's true.
I am just not going to let JJ off the hook with this one.
But then why did he give him an extra shift afterwards?
Yeah, exactly. You'd think and considering he can't afford to give people, you know, extra shifts because he's not got any of the events coming in or anything.
Yeah, it's an odd choice. Talking of work, though, it did make me laugh. I don't think it was this week. It might have been the week before when Susan and Therese were having their big bust up and conflict of who's in charge and what Susan can and can't do.
Are you about to say something about our podcast now being like...
No.
Our
relationship is fine. I think. I hope. By the end of this podcast, it should be fine. No, when Susan was saying, oh, we should go and see Dex.
Yeah.
Can I go and see Dex? And Therese was saying, no, you have to be here and work. And Therese is the only person who puts her work before anything else. Everybody else just swans off whenever they like. But I don't blame Therese for saying, no, you have a job here.
Oh, now, whilst I agree, I think from a PR kind of sense of it was wise to have somebody go and check in on him and make it clear that, well, you know, just you don't want to, when your business has just opened, appear uncaring when somebody's just nearly died on your premises.
Yeah, but Susan didn't explain that until maybe 2 days or 3 days afterwards. If she had just said, look, I'm doing this as collateral damage.
Yeah.
I think it would be a really good idea.
But you would think Therese would have thought that through herself, really. But, yeah, the fact that her boss said no and then she still did it, not cool, Susan.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to be able to work together, or are we going to see more conflict there?
I think it's
Is it done now?
Water under the bridge now.
Okay.
They've kissed and made up.
I love
They'll
that
be happy.
when something's just, oh yeah, it's just fine now.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, one little thing I had an issue with this week, and it's only a little thing.
Please tell.
So, do you remember the scene where Nell brought in some breakfast and purposely didn't give it to Toadie because she was in a mood with him, and gave some to Therese and then some to herself?
Yes, I remember that.
This scene. I mean, it was only a couple of days ago. Now, I have two issues with this. First of all, Nell entered from the garden with this food.
Maybe she was cooking it on the barbie.
cooking, but it was fried eggs. I mean, really? So that was my first issue. And secondly, she handed her the food and went out, didn't have any cutlery. How's she supposed to eat a fried egg without cutlery? You know, these things matter to me.
Maybe she'd already put the cutlery on the table.
No, there was no cutlery there.
Oh, okay.
There was no cutlery. She didn't have any in her hand, so she didn't have any for herself either. And yeah, I'm just thinking, how are they going to eat those eggs?
Maybe she was going to the kitchen to get the cutlery to bring it back to Therese.
I mean, surely she'd started in that kitchen.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I mean, I'm still not quite understanding why back in the day everybody just entered in the back door when there's clearly a front door.
Yes. I mean, generally that's always been the way in Neighbours, hasn't it? That people always just let themselves in. Maybe people, in theory, locked their front doors but didn't lock their back doors. But these days, they always leave all the doors open, despite the fact that they've been burgled and abducted and all the other things that you would think would teach you to actually lock your door.
Or you could just knock on the door.
Yeah,
and say, hi neighbour, can I come in, please?
Have you ever heard a doorbell on Neighbours?
No.
No, nobody has a doorbell. Anyway, this is the sort of nonsense you can expect to hear from Fiona and I over the next however long we are doing these podcasts. We hope you have enjoyed our chat. I think we have gone rather longer than we meant to talk, so I'm gonna call it there, Fee.
Perfect.
Brilliant. We would love you to be a part of this podcast. So we would love to hear your comments about anything we've been chatting about. You know, what was your first moment of watching Neighbours? And what do you think about what we've said? Generally, we want to know these things. Also, would you like to be a guest? We would love to have a different aNUDer member as our guest each week, and we'll just chat to them about their Neighbours experience and why they love it and who their favourite character is, and although we didn't even talk about that, we'll talk about that another week. So do comment on the post, and we will try and include as many of those comments in our next episode.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
Thanks for having me, Fiona, and thanks any podcast listener, Claire and her husband, and anyone else. And we'll see you again next time.
Bye.
G'day.